Welcome to Flipped Classrooms. This topic is algebra, and we are looking at the language of algebra. Our learning intentions today are we are looking at the language of algebra, and I am successful when I can understand what a pronumeral, term, expression, coefficient, constant, and equation is, and I can write algebraic expressions. So here we have an algebraic equation. It has some operators, and operators are a symbol that shows what operation is happening. In this equation, we have terms. Terms are either a single number, a variable, or a number and a variable that are multiplied together. They are separated by pluses and minuses, but they also include the sign that's in front of them. An expression is a group of terms, and the terms are separated by those pluses and minuses. So you can see that I have the term negative 9x in the middle there. I have 52x squared on the left and just the number 36 on the right, and they are all separated by pluses and minuses. So that expression has three terms. A variable is a symbol for a number that we do not know yet. Variables are also called pronumerals. In a lot of equations, you'll see letters like x and y. In this equation, we have letters x, or variables x, on the left-hand side, and variables m on the right-hand side. And the number that's before the variables is called the coefficient, and this is the number that is used to multiply that variable. So the one that is highlighted, the 7, is the coefficient of m. We also have the coefficient of x in the term square, which is negative 9, because the sign is part of it. And the coefficient of x squared is 52. And finally, we have constants. Constants are just the numbers that are by themselves. They are also called constant terms. So in this case, we have the constant 82 that is highlighted on the right-hand side, and we also have the constant of 36 in the middle. Now, if you have a look at both expressions, they are in a certain order, with the constant at the very right-hand side by itself, and then as we move left, the powers of the variables increase. So in the first expression on the left-hand side, we have an x squared term, followed by an x term, followed by the constant. On the right-hand side, we have an m term, followed by the constant. Now, this is a convention that mathematicians write in. They don't always have to have the equation in this form, but it's usually put in this form as this is the way that we normally write these expressions to make it easy to read and make sure that we don't forget anything. Here I have a worked example for the expression 6x minus 3xy plus z plus 2 plus x squared z plus y squared over 7. Determine, and we have 6 questions. The number of terms, the coefficient of the last term, the term with the smallest coefficient, the coefficient of the second term, the constant term, and the coefficient of x squared z. So if we're going through the number of terms, each term is separated by either a plus or minus. So we can see that there are 6 terms there. We have the 6x, we have the negative 3xy, we have the z, we have the 2, we have the x squared z, and we have the y squared over 7. Okay, the coefficient of the last term is 1 over 7, because if something is a fraction, the number 1 is up the top, so that's 1 over 7. We don't write the y squared, we just write 1 over 7 for that coefficient. The term with the smallest coefficient is negative 3xy, because when we're looking at the number line, negative 3 is into the negative, so that makes it smaller than all of the positive ones. The coefficient of that second term is just negative 3, so we have to make sure we include that sign in front of the actual term. The constant term in this one is 2, because it's there by itself without any other variables or pronumerals attached to it. And finally, the coefficient of x squared z is 1. If there's no number before a pronumeral or a variable, it is just the number 1. We don't write it because we are being efficient. We don't have to write that number 1 in front. So it is important to have conventions and rules. Your reflection for today is, why is that important? And think back of what we talked about earlier today. As always, like and subscribe the video, and we'll see you back here for more maths lessons.